Imagine a man who spends his entire life chasing a beauty that no one else can see. He paints over 2,000 works of art, pours his heart onto every canvas, and yet, in his entire lifetime, he sells only one. Here is the brutal truth. As the book of Proverbs warns, even in laughter, the heart may ache, and the end of joy may be grief. The logical solution to feeling like a failure is to realize that value is not a reflection of your current market price. The world's inability to recognize your worth is a defect in the world, not a defect in you. Vincent van Gogh is the most famous painter in human history, but he died believing he was a total non-entity. He suffered from poverty, mental breakdowns, and a crushing sense of social rejection. He once wrote to his brother Theo, "I am a man of passions, capable of and prone to doing more or less foolish things." He felt like a caged bird in a world that refused to open the door. Today, we are deconstructing the psychology of feeling like a complete failure through the tragic life of Van Gogh. We are going to look at the 4 chapters of The Failure Trap and the neurological reasons why your brain lies to you about your potential. Chapter 1. The Trap of Social Comparison. Van Gogh spent his years looking at the successful painters of the Parisian salons. They had money. They had fame. They had technique that the public understood. Compared to them, Van Gogh felt like a clumsy amateur. He was constantly measuring his internal mess against everyone else's external highlight reel. Comparison is the thief of progress, but the father of despair. This is the social comparison theory in action. When we perform upward comparison, our brain's reward system shuts down and we enter a state of learned helplessness. Van Gogh's logical error was believing that because he didn't fit the standard of success, he was a failure. The logical solution is to realize that you cannot measure a circle with a ruler. Your metrics are simply wrong. Chapter 2. The Distorted Lens of the Negative Filter. In his letters, Vincent often called himself a lowly person or a failure. Even when he produced masterpieces like The Starry Night, he couldn't see the genius. His brain had developed a negative filter. He would discard his own brilliance and fixate only on his poverty and his loneliness. Your brain is an editor that loves to cut out the win scenes. In cognitive behavioral therapy, this is called mental filtering. Your brain focuses on a single negative detail and dwells on it so exclusively that your entire reality becomes darkened. Van Gogh wasn't failing. He was just neurologically incapable of registering his own growth. If you feel like a failure, it is likely because your internal filter is broken, not your life. Chapter 3. The Weight of the Unmet Expectation. Vincent wanted to be a pastor. He failed. He wanted to be a husband. He failed. He carried the weight of what he should have been by age 30. He felt the ticking clock of society's expectations pressing against his chest. He didn't realize that his failures in those fields were actually the very things forcing him toward his true calling: art. Rejection is often just redirection in a dark suit. This is the sunk cost fallacy mixed with identity foreclosure. We grieve the versions of ourselves that didn't happen, forgetting that they had to die for the real version to live. The logical solution to a failed path is to stop looking at the closed door and start looking at the tools you picked up while you were standing in front of it. Van Gogh's failure as a preacher gave him the soul of an artist. Chapter 4. The neurological delay of success. The final chapter of Van Gogh's story is the most tragic. He died before the echo of his work returned to him. Success is a wave that often takes years to hit the shore. Van Gogh died at 37, just as his style was reaching its peak. He judged his entire existence based on a snapshot of a moment rather than the movie of his legacy. You are judging the harvest in the middle of the planting season. This is the problem of temporal discounting. Our brains are wired to value immediate rewards and devalue future ones. Because Vincent didn't have immediate fame, his brain concluded his life had zero value. The logical solution is to realize that time is a neutral variable. Your current lack of results is not a permanent verdict. It is just a delay in the delivery. The strategist's conclusion. Vincent van Gogh died in his brother's arms, saying, "The sadness will last forever." He was wrong. The sadness ended, and the beauty began. If you feel like a failure today, remember that you are in the Vincent phase. You are doing the work that the world isn't ready for yet. Your internal filter is lying to you, your comparisons are stealing your joy, and your expectations are based on a timeline that isn't yours. As the painter Vincent van Gogh wrote, "If you hear a voice within you say, 'You cannot paint,' then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." The voice that says you are a failure is just an opinion. Your work is the fact. Keep painting. Tell me in the comments, what is one success you've had that your internal filter is trying to ignore? As let's bring some light into the room. I read every one. If Vincent's story rewired your perspective, consider subscribing. Let's master the internal lens together. Thank you for watching.